Russell of Colin for YouTube, Joel Saints. That is my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Gordon Dymowski. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. We're here to review the Twilight Zone, season 2. From season 2, The Howling Man. So a nice young man gets himself lost in the wilderness to come to a big giant house, or a mansion, if you will. I've actually seen this episode before.
It's a classic episode.
It is. I'm not so sure he's a nice young man, though. Dude looks like he's coming down off of a meth jag.
Now, Joel, did you actually watch the episode, or did you read the Wikipedia summary?
No, I watched this episode before. I watched it today. It's funny because it's like he comes into the house. He's looking for food and water, and when he goes to go, he passes out, and all the guys with the robes and the canes. I forgot that they sort of surround him as he's passing out. So when he passes out, they surround him. And he wakes up. They put him right next to the devil. Who's again?
Of course, because
he's not in the same cell.
Well, no,
but he's right there. But he's right.
They've got limited space.
The Brotherhood kind of freaked me out because they all looked like they were auditioning for Moses in the Ten Commandments.
That or like Jack Kirby New Gods.
Yeah. And imagine you're that guy. You come there, you faint, and then you come to and you waken to John Carradine.
That's right. Who was spooky enough without the weird beard and huge flowing mane, which they all seem to have in this place. I think they're all on Propecia. They discovered a Propecia mine or something.
So now my question is, if you were in that situation, you woke up and there's John Carradine, would you think, good luck, or
I would.
Which would you think?
Yeah,
number 2.
Number 2. Yeah, I'll go with that. Flip a coin, but probably going to come up.
I've also seen him as Dracula. Oh, fuck, yeah.
It'd be the best day of my life.
Well, if it were on a movie set, but not in real life necessarily.
Oh, I think I would be in for a very entertaining day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You've seen that, right? You guys have seen that, right? Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of those.
Yeah, you could have John. You could have fun with John Carradine, especially if you're willing to shell out for drinks.
Oh, yeah.
John Carradine was one of a group of really hardcore drinkers back in the 40s that ended up being immortalized in a book called Minutes of the Last Meeting. Mm-hmm. And it was Carradine, a guy by the name of Sadakichi Hartman, who had an interesting life. He was everything from an actor to a newspaper man. And also a heavy drinker, like everybody else in this group. W.C. Fields was in that group.
Of course.
And John Barrymore was in that group.
Will Fowler he had to be one of them.
Well, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've read the book, but there were some ancillary characters in it, too.
Yeah.
Hollywood types.
I also thought the bearded men were going for their best Gandalf impersonation, too.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a pre-Gandalf kind of deal going on, but it was 1960, so it hadn't been long since the Ten Commandments. So that idea of the flowing masculine, holy man is kind of there.
And when you consider the budgets at this time, like if they did a couple of really high-end science fiction stuff, they probably went, okay, what do we need to do for monks? Oh, we got these biblical costumes away in the closet somewhere.
Yeah. That's right. Studio probably had a ton of them from doing all of those biblical pics in the 50s. But yeah, it's very interesting to see these guys because they're seekers of truth, but at the same time they kind of have a sinister air about them, a little bit. It's like intensity, I guess, is probably a better word than sinister. They're very intense. But I suppose if you had old Nick locked up on the premises, it'd make you pretty intense too.
Well, the fact that they tell the guy, well, we don't have that stuff here. We don't have. What do you mean you don't have that here? Can you run that by me again? How do you live?
Yeah, well, I think too that they don't. The reason they don't like outsiders becomes obvious when he releases the devil. They don't want to take that chance, but they're forced to. They can't turn him away. They're a sort of their own holy order. They're not going to just let him die when he passes out. That's why they have dramatically. You have him pass out right there in the monastery. So forces their hand.
He stumbles right into the Twilight Zone.
Yes,
as Rod Serling says, and it's really cool too. I like how the inside of the house looks as gigantic as the outside of the mansion.
Yeah,
they do a really good job with the set designs here.
Yep,
not a TARDIS.
No, not a TARDIS.
Yeah.
Gordon, it looked like you were.
I was adjusting myself because I was starting to slide down and.
Oh, yeah, it happens to me all the time. I love a self-adjustment.
I have an office chair that's like a ski jump. Just slide.
So
down.
They let John Carradine. Eventually, he lets John Carradine's character out, so the devil escape. I like how he takes his hand and basically paralyzes him almost, or knocks him to the ground. It looks like, and he just you see the transformation as he's walking past each pillar. Very neat effect.
Yeah.
The devil is gone out into the world.
Yeah, they didn't have to spend a lot of money on it. It's just a camera work and a little bit of pyro at the end. So,
yeah, plus certain lighting and lenses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The fact that this guy goes on a crusade to get the devil back is fun. And he gets
like the search for Spock.
Yeah. And he takes
with a lot more guilt.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention the canes the old men are carrying sort of shield them from the devil, and that's what locks the devil's cell in is one of those long canes.
Yeah,
and
it's the staff of truth.
Staff of truth. Sorry. So
he has a miniature one at the end.
Yeah, a little one. At his apartment or something. He's locked him in a closet.
Set direction went, oh, wait a minute. These doors aren't big enough for that huge staff. We're going to have to use this toothpick instead.
I love that, though. It is
it's kind of cool.
It doesn't take much.
He made it at Home Depot. We'll say that. What's you guys' favorite scene in this episode?
I don't know. I think anything where the devil is being reasonable. Because there's a lot... Thematically, there's a lot going on in this episode. I mean, a lot. The attractive nature of evil, the ability to be rationalized into horrible decisions. Our vulnerability to being just utterly bamboozled by horrible fascist figures. That this is something that the crazy Christian nationalists would be big on right now. And they actually would be big on it. The dangers and limits of empathy. Right now their biggest crusade, if you can believe this, is against empathy.
That and
they
critical
think empathy's
thought.
Bad.
Critical thought also involves with certain tenets of that kind of so-called faith.
As I recall, Jesus was something of an empathy enthusiast.
He was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just in the book.
Yeah, his most quotable quote from the scriptures, and the most oftentimes he says that quote is "love one another." So that's the most common.
So anyway, but they would dig this.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a
misreading it.
Yeah, exactly. Misreading evil. I think that's what's going on here. It's a combination of naivete and disbelief that evil could exist in this circumstance.
A distrust of elders.
Yeah,
I think it's a big thing that's happening. I mean, these shows are so political. They're so well told.
Socio-political as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
They encompass a lot of stuff. But yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. What's up?
Well,
Gordon, what do you think?
Well, I think kind of to Alan's point about these shows being political. I mean, the whole reason why the Twilight Zone was created was that Rod Serling, he would do these high-end dramas, and you'd have the producers coming in and say, "No, you can't say that. You'll offend a sponsor. You can't say that. You'll offend a sponsor. You can't say that. You'll offend a sponsor." I mean, it got to the point where one of the lines in the script was "got a match," and he was forced to change it because the sponsor was a lighter company.
Got a light. Changed it to got a light, and the guy produces a lighter, of course. Yeah.
And so essentially, he was able to work with CBS to get the show because he realized, hey, look, I can write about things in science fiction-y terms that I can write about the kind of stuff that I want to, that I don't have to worry about sponsors because it's going to go right over their heads.
Right.
I think he. I may be misquoting him, but I think he said something to the effect of, "I can have Martians and robots say things that Democrats and Republicans can't."
Yeah, you're putting it in the mouths of aliens, children, monsters, whatever, or in service to some so-called morality where it turns out it's really not. It's really not. Like some of the episodes that we've already discussed. So
and I think with this episode, it's one of the. I think part of the reasons why it is so rich is that it's written by a gentleman named Charles Beaumont. If you want to think of it this way, let's use Dark Shadows actors as examples. Rod Serling would be the Jonathan Frid.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Matheson, who was a very popular author, would have been the David Selby.
And he worked with Dan Curtis as well. Mm-hmm. So,
right. Yeah. And Charles Beaumont I'd say he's the Christopher Pennock of writers, in that he never got a lot of attention. But he was, as many of his peers would say, he really did live in the Twilight Zone. Like in the 80s, I found there's a paperback anthology, because a lot of his work was out of print at the time. The anthology is called The Howling Man, and it has the story that this is based on.
Yes, this was originally written.
I have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's two key differences, which I think are more just kind of how you would dramatize it. The first was that the devil was kept in a cell by a cross, which you really couldn't do in early 1960s television. But you could, so they used the Staff of Truth. And when the devil escapes, what they see is they go and they see footprints that become hoof prints.
Yes.
So you've got the sense of, but Beaumont's work is very much in the, like another example, it's a story that's actually in the public domain right now, but he wrote a story called The Beautiful Ones, which was produced here as Number 7 Looks Exactly Like You. And it's about, there's a society where a teenage girl is going in and she's offered the chance to be, to get a new body. And she's kind of a frumpy, kind of, not, she is presented as not very attractive. Mm-hmm. And the story is just kind of like, I don't know. The main difference, I think, is that the story is very bland, but in the Twilight Zone tale is a little bit not as dark. But in the story, one of the big issues with the girl is like, I could lose, if I go through this procedure, will I forget who I am? Will I lose who is? Because she's comfortable with who she is. She's not like, oh, I'm ugly. Oh, I'm like, for her, it's like, this is who I am. Not perfect. I'm great. And that, essentially she's at the end of the short story, she's forced to go through the procedure. So they actually kind of abduct her to go through it. And it ends with her, they're starting to put her out to prepare her to put her in a new body.
Yeah.
And
So
now,
there's the pitfalls of groupthink, group mentality, peer pressure, social pressure, I guess,
Mhm.
as an adult.
Yep.
That sort of commentary on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Penguin has like a really good anthology. A lot of Beaumont stories are now back on like Kindle, so you can. So
You can
for
find
you
them.
out there, if you want to read, I'm talking to you out there on YouTube. You can hit pause, go read his books. You come back and you can listen, and you can watch and join the conversation. Again, like, share, subscribe, because I'll do all that YouTube stuff.
Yes,
Jewel,
absolutely. Ding!
If you watch, you watch. It's okay. If you don't, it's okay.
We like people to watch, though.
Oh god. What I like best about this episode really is just the chemistry of the cast. They do a really good job of selling everything here, especially the conversation between. The guy is not going to believe the elderly guy. I mean, the devil's convinced the dude to let him out.
He's a good salesman.
And
Yeah, totally.
this is not the only devil episode of the Twilight Zone. There's other ones. So really, really fun episode here you select.
Yes, it was.
Is there anything you guys want to add before we go?
No, Jewel, I'm
Yep.
glad we were able to talk about this.
I mean, this is one of the
as rational adults.
Yeah. This is one of the all-time classic episodes from the series. It's a Hallmark episode, really. It is. Not a Hallmark Channel episode, but a Hallmark episode.
No.
It's a really great exploration of decision making, critical thinking. What's truth? What isn't in the individual mind?
Paranoia.
And
Culpability.
paranoia. How do you recognize evil? How do you recognize that sort of thing? And 1960 was a sort of it was a pivotal year. We were still in the 50s, really, in 1960, obviously, for several years until probably the assassination of Kennedy. We still were a lot in the 50s in terms of the way that people thought, the way that our society was kind of on an upswing, and everybody was sort of the attitude we're the greatest country in the world, and there's a lot of positivity going on, both good and bad. There's obviously there are other bad things going on, like Jim Crow and the specter of the Vietnam Wars already starting from '59. All of this sort of, we've been told to beware of the military-industrial complex. But in general, people were sort of, this might be a bad word, but sedated a little bit in terms of everything's great. We've got our little house and we got this, and that's a great thing. I mean, I grew up in a nice environment because of that sort of economic and social milieu. But at the same time, there was a lot of people were sleeping on things, and this show didn't let people sleep on stuff. A lot of major issues, moral issues, ethical issues, political issues. The specter of nuclear holocaust, of course, was very large. The paranoia of Red Scare and how that sort of crept into life, at least in a subconscious, if not a conscious way. So all of that stuff is happening right now. And at this time that this comes out, so you get it. I mean, this episode doesn't encompass all of that necessarily, but it encompasses a few of those things, and the series encompasses all of that. In especially, well, actually, in all of it, right up to 64. It really does. Many of the episodes have these issues as underpinning, and some of them are really obvious about it. So, more out there.
What do you guys want to do tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday the 13th.
Well, is that what we're doing? Are we watching Friday the 13th?
You want to watch the original?
No.
No.
I'll be honest. No. But I would like to talk about Hap and Leonard at some point.
Yeah, we'll do Hap and Leonard tomorrow.
Okay, so what? That's episode 4, season 3 that we will be doing at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
So Hap and Leonard tomorrow.
I'm sorry. I mean, I appreciate your enthusiasm for Friday the 13th. It's just not a series that did anything for me.
Here's the thing. All day tomorrow, I'll be watching Friday the 13th until I have to watch the Hap and Leonard episode. So I'll be watching the Friday the 13th movies tomorrow. Because somebody's got to watch Pamela and Jason.
Yeah.
And hey, you got to watch Jason X. Jason Goes to Space, right?
Jason Goes to Space. Yeah.
Hey, it's must see TV.
Have I been court ordered?
It's must see TV. What?
No, Green Acres Goes to Space would be much better.
God, that would be great.
Listen, when you go to Tubi and watch Amityville in Space and laugh your ass off.
Watch what?
Yeah, that I understand is really like drunken drive-in stuff.
Yeah.
Watch what?
Amityville in Space.
Amityville the Face?
No, in space.
Amityville in space?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. Yeah, the house goes into outer space.
No.
Yes. It looks like a fan film. It's on
Tubi. No.
Is it on YouTube?
It's on Tubi.
Oh, it's on
Tubi or not Tubi?
And listen,
I gotta go watch.
Do not pay for this movie. Go watch it on Tubi for free.
Okay.
And then laugh your ass off. It's funny.
Oh,
I think I'll watch the 9th Configuration instead.
That's a hell of a movie.
Yeah.
There's an upswing for you.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
That is. That's a goddamn good movie.
Honestly, when you watch it, if you watch Amityville in Space, it looks like a fan film. It looks like a fan film budget film. It really does.
Tacky drive-in stuff.
It is. It really is. It's like you. This would be the movie you would take a date to get laid.
It's an old scratchy print. Smells of vinegar when you pull it out.
If some woman brought me to see that movie, I would not be engaging in any kind of congress with her. I would be trying to escape.
No. See, you bring a couple of bottles of pink champagne or cold duck or something like that with you and get sloshed.
Oh my god!
That's what we used to do back in the day. We used to go see terrible movies.
I would much rather bring a woman to my place and play her some Otis Redding because at least that's much more of a seductive and Amityville in space.
Yeah, has a whiff of class to it as well. What we're talking about, just like I said, it comes out of the canister, it's scratched up, and it smells like vinegar. It's been in there so long. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm Patrick McCray. Good night.
Thank you.
Link to Patrick McCray's Art Tuesday book about will be in the description box. Link to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page will be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel. Colin Sport After Dark will be in the description box. You guys have a safe night. Take care.
Good night, all.